Bum 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 bum. The Peter Swipe Left Show. Bum 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 bum. Well, it's we're getting close to the end of January. I want to reflect on my New Year's resolution, and it has been bittersweet. My New Year's resolution was to mingle with as many people as possible. I kind of made it a rule that if somebody was in speaking distance, right, if somebody was close enough that you could spread COVID to, I made it a rule to make some sort of small talk with them. So, for example, the most common one is I sit down at the student union or at the break room in the adjunct office, and if somebody sits next to me, I make sure to at least say hello, ask them how their weekend was, and so. Yeah, but not only that, but at the coffee shop, at a restaurant, if somebody's sitting at the table adjacent to me as well, when I'm pumping gasoline at the gas station, or just at the grocery store. I'll make sure to say something to the person behind me at the grocery store line. And it has not turned badly. The one thing that has not happened is any sort of issue. Actually, I ran into a problem at a grocery store, but not because I said hello. What had happened was I was in a hurry, and I decided to ask the person in front of me if I could cut in front of them, and practically everybody was okay with it. But the person who was working at the self checkout stands had a problem because I was starting to. I had wanted to start to scan my groceries as this guy was picking up his stuff, and the guy didn't have a problem. But you know what? I stood my ground, and it made me feel good about that. So that was not a total loss either. I certainly didn't get any sort of bad attention from it. Let's just put it that way. And but the bitterness comes from the fact that it does not exactly come for free. I've been attending a lot of events, and it's taking up a lot of my time, but also my mental energy as well. And when in the last 15 years, I thought I could do everything I want, right? So I started writing computer games 13 years ago now, actually 14 years ago now. And I started my Bismuth art career 2.5 years ago. And there are other things that I did as well. And unfortunately, I've started to realize that those things didn't come for free. I was giving up a lot of social life for that. And now there's so many trade-offs, right? So for example, right now I'm living in a house I'm sharing with a friend of a friend. And unfortunately, he has a roommate that is borderline alcoholic, and I'm really glad that I'm standing firm on my ground. The alcoholic friend decides to sleep in the living room half the time, and then he gets upset that I make noises. I'll be eating dinner at 7, 8 p.m., and he'll moan that about the noise. As if he doesn't, he has a bedroom. And I even reminded him on a number of occasions, hey, I think you have a better bedroom than I do. Why don't you go enjoy it? Right? And one time I even joked because he realized I just came home from a date. So I joked, oh my God, I so much wish I could bring her into your bedroom to do our business because mine sucks, right? It was a joke. I was trying to remind him he had a nice bedroom. He didn't get the memo though. And but then I remembered that other times that I've lived in other places, uncertainty is worse than having a bad roommate sometimes, right? It was kind of reminding myself of that. The point is that I feel constrained in having to make these trade-offs, right? And it feels like all of the big things that I was promised when I first moved out of my parents' home, when I first graduated school, I feel like those things are evaporating in front of my eyes, and that's been the main source of disappointment for me this year. Even though I have networked with a lot of nice people, um, I really hate the trade offs. I really do. Right now, as I speak, there are several things that I'd like to be doing. I have 300 pounds of bismuth bars waiting for me to make stuff, and I haven't had all the time to do that. I'd like to be giving my job 120%. I'm only giving it 110. I know I sometimes push myself a little bit too much. I think most of my students love me, but I could be doing better. I don't always get along with all of my colleagues. That's the thing. And I think this new rule of if I could spread COVID to them, I gotta interact. I think has really helped me. I love having hard and fast rules like that because they force me to do something, right? So, for example, 20 years ago, my New Year's resolution was to stop drinking soda altogether. And by stop, I mean not one sip. Why? Because it's a hard and fast rule. If I allow myself to drink it in moderation, and I have to think, is this an okay time to drink soda? It gets really tricky, right? So, for example, if I drink soda because visiting my uncle after my grandmother's funeral, and that's an occasion that's worthy of a soda. What happens when last fall I went on my first date in multiple years, right? That's definitely soda worthy if a funeral is, right? What about when I make a really beautiful art masterpiece, right? What if uh, you get the idea, right? What if I ask people to swipe left on my videos and suddenly I get a million right swipes, right? You get the idea, right? It gets really confusing fast if you make soft rules like that, right? That's why the rule has to be a solid line, right? And so, anyway, I thought I would update you guys on my resolutions. It's been very bittersweet, but at the same time, I have to question: do I really need that many art pieces and computer games and half-finished projects and to daydream about writing the next cryptocurrency, and all that, and research about that? Do I really need that? Sometimes I question that, right? But it just feels like all of the things that I was promised, when we were kids and we were dreaming about one day of doing whatever. I can still do them, but there's so many trade-offs, and I find that I have to swipe left to a lot of my ambitions lately. And, that's been very, very depressing to me. This is the Peter Swipe Left Show. Bum 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 bum.